19th. We got a big show today, 11 topics, 10 special guests, and let's get right to the list of these topics. First up, we've got actually a EOS rebrand announcement coming. Small update we'll hear from Zach. Then we're going to follow it up with the EOS support semi-annual report update with Bishop, followed by some EOS EVM updates. Of course, the incentive program still going. Motodex had an AMA and some multi-chain updates as well. Then EOS native, we're talking leap upgrade, a vulnerability fix, as well as a survey about the network's EOS consumption. Next up, there's Mr. James Koutoulas, an attorney with the current class action currently going on against Block 1 in the United States. He's here with us today, going to share some updates on what he's been working on. Then we've got Eos.dboard updates with Jun, Eden Creators and Tetra updates with Rosmari and Douglas Butner. Perhaps some Greymass updates with Aaron. And then Yves is with us today as well, talk to us about Japan. And there's a Chintai AMA as well. All right, a long list of topics. Let's see how long we go for, and let's jump right into it. So, Zach, are you around for this? Kick us off with this EOS rebrand update.
Sure. So we've been going through a process over the last several months. We brought this up on a fireside chat in March, April, I'm not sure how far back it was, but we kind of discussed the two different paths that we could potentially go, some of the complications with the brand confusion, because we have the original chestahedron, we've got the EOS.io chestahedron, which is trademarked, copyrighted, you can't, Block 1 owns it essentially, or bullish. And then we have the ENF logo, which oftentimes gets confused with EOS because it's like the official Twitter account that's linked to on CoinMarketCap, and it has its mark. So really what we've been trying to do, and we've been working with an agency to do so, is trying to kind of pull everything together and also kind of continue on the path of what we've been calling the new EOS. So like last year, we broke away from EOS.io with the EOS Independence Day and Antelope, with Leap 5.0 coming with the hard fork / consensus upgrade later this year. It's a breakaway from DPoS into a variation of hot stuff consensus. This is really just a continuation of that, of a new look, a new feel for the EOS network. And we're still very much in the creative process. So what we're looking to do next week is present not the final product. This is not a brand like rollout or reveal. This is really just should be considered a sneak peek. There will likely be some changes after the presentation based on the feedback that we receive. We can consider it a temperature check with the community, make sure we're on the right path, for example, collect all of the feedback, and then after that, we'll take all of the feedback, continue to iterate, and then it'll likely be another couple of months before the actual rollout. So because of the visual nature of this, we will be doing next week's fireside chat on Zoom instead of Discord. The main reason behind that is really just one, so that we can have the nonverbal cues. I'll have my camera on. Everyone else, I'm assuming most people won't, but all of the presenters, you'll meet some of the creative team that we've been working with. They'll be helping, they'll have the deck ready and be presenting it. And then obviously being able to share screen. So that's pretty much the update. I hope everyone likes the direction we're going. We've been, like I said, working with this team for the last several months, getting them to understand EOS. What we'll be presenting is just some of the visuals. It's not the full package. It doesn't include the messaging frameworks. It doesn't include a lot of what you will eventually see in a couple of months. So just want to make sure everyone's expectations aren't that EOS is rebranding next week. That's not going to be the case. As a matter of fact, the timing of when an actual rebrand may happen will likely be based on other factors, based on other releases happening at the time, based on market sentiment, and really there's no rush to do the formal rollout, and we want to make sure we're doing it properly anyway. And as far as doing it properly, getting community feedback is a big part of that. So anyone who feels strongly about creative, wants to give their inputs, I highly encourage you to join the Fireside Chat next week. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but hopefully I covered all the ground there.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Zach, for that. I'm going to share the Zoom link in the chat right now for those of you who want to bookmark it right away. That's going to be the link to join the Fireside Chat next week. So it's not going to be on Discord. It's going to be on Zoom. So hopefully a lot of you can join us out there as well. If you want to have your camera on, of course, you can do that on Zoom or not a problem. Like Zach said, it's probably going to be mostly audio for most of the show. I'll try to have my camera on for most of the time as the host. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, hopefully you guys can join us on Zoom next week. It's still going to be streamed on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or on Twitter as well. So you can always still watch it from those on those platforms if that's what you usually do. Any questions? Anyone plan on showing up? All right, I already got some feedback. Drew says he's going to be there. Good to hear. All right, well, we'll definitely talk more next week. So we can move on for now. Bishop, are you ready to talk to us about a bunch of EOS support updates?
Absolutely.
All right, it's been a while since we've had you on the Fireside. Welcome back. And yeah, let us know what you've been working on.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back. We'll soon be releasing our semi-annual report for your support. So twice a year, that's our biggest report on everything that we've done. I'm posting right now in the chat the monthly report for June that you can already see. Of course, every month we have a monthly report with everything that we do, every statistic that we have on your support, how we help the community through ticketing, through the social medias. And actually, yeah, on social media, so through all our accounts, and we have, for example, on Twitter, 9 different accounts for 9 different languages. On total, we have passed 150,000 followers in total, which is a record in the EOS community. So we are very proud of that. We have managed to build the follower account on each Twitter account for your support, and through each of these accounts, we have the information that we have translated about the tutorials, about the EOS news. All of that is available in 9 different languages for everyone around the world. And we take great pride in that. Everything that we do at EOS Support is not only for the English community, but for everyone that speaks one of those 9 languages: French, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Korean, and more around the world. So yeah, you can check out the reports, and yeah, I'll do a quick summary of what you can find in them and what will be our biggest milestones. So very glad to speak about our affiliated projects. That's been a question going on through the community. We've seen what is about being an affiliated project with EOS support. So projects that are accepted into the EOS Respect community, and that's our ambassadorships program at EOS support. We participate in monthly elections. We choose which are the projects best deserving of receiving funding and more. And so what are the other benefits besides receiving funding than being an affiliated project for your support? So we usually help the projects with 24/7 essential human support. We already have a direct chat on our website, and we put that to use to all the other projects that want to implement that also into the website. So their users directly have a line of communication with our professional team that is ready to help them. So anyone can add that widget as soon as they become affiliated with us. And once they're affiliated, then they participate in EOS Respect. So it automatically gives them a higher reputation. So delegates, which are elected in EOS Respect, which are project owners from EOS, well, they have access to all the other project owners that participate in the community, and they can receive information about any of these projects at any time. So accountability is therefore guaranteed. We check on each other. So as soon as a project is a member of EOS Respect, they gain that accountability to the community. And well, after that, of course, EOS Support, well, takes on the job of highlighting that project. So we mark it for them, we highlight them in our reports for EOS Audit, and they have a higher chance of being, well, in our news feed, etc. So it's a win-win for everyone. And of course, well, we market them on our social medias across 9 different languages. So EOS Support recommends and vouch for accountable projects to join EOS Respect. And well, after that, most project owners' representatives also show some love to each other, and by donating funds directly to them or through Pomelo. And since these funds are not much, it's symbolic donations to let the other project members know that their work is still being appreciated by the other project owners in EOS Respect. And well, on top of that, there we get recognition again through our news article, blog posts, and more. And for that, we can take an example. So Genki, that we've highlighted recently in our Twitter. So Genki is an independent publication website that launched in March 2022, and they've been affiliated with us since November. So far, they've participated as an affiliated member of EOS Support in EOS Respect, and they've received 14 different donations in total from EOS Respect. And well, the projects which ran to donate their funds to Genki donated these funds through Pomelo to give them even more matching funds in the end. And on top of the donations, we also help these projects to receive feedback from us. We help them we got tickets on our website, EOS Support, for users that went to Genki, had some questions, felt that something was off about the website maybe. So for Genki, we pushed them to update their landing page, make things clearer with the wording and the articles and more. So in the end, it's a symbiotic relationship between the affiliated projects and EOS Support. The affiliated projects go to EOS Support for added visibility, added accountability towards the community, to also receive funding through EOS Respect. And in the end, it's a win-win for everyone. So again, if anyone asks why you want to be an affiliated project with EOS Support, we can do much together, really, really much. So don't hesitate in reaching out to us through contact@eos.board.ai, and we'll find the best ways to synergize together. That's for sure. And again, we have also EOS Audit that makes monthly reports about the top projects in EOS. You have a higher chance of being selected for a review if you are part of EOS Respect and affiliated with EOS Support. And also in the report, it is highlighted which projects have been affiliated with us or not. So if you are, it shows to the community. You have that added accountability. You have higher chances of receiving funding from the community through Pomelo. You've made yourself transparent to the community as public good, and there's nothing more important than that in a Web3 decentralized community like ours. And that was it regarding the affiliated projects. So again, if you have any questions about how to join as an affiliated project, EOS Respect, EOS Support, again, we have a website with 24/7 free live support. You can ask any question you have about the EOS network there. And again, it's in 9 different languages. We don't repeat that often enough, but if you speak Spanish, French, or one of our 9 languages, you can have access to many of our translated articles also. And you have live agents in your own language ready to help you. So don't hesitate. And that was just a bit of news that I had on the affiliated projects of EOS Support. And to get to the real alpha for everyone here, EOS Support, for months now, we've been working on a new website. And so I wanted to give you an update on where it is and to showcase that we are working hard at EOS Support to go even further to support this EOS community in every way we can. So again, Web3 is about ownership, self-custody of our assets, and we've always strived to be a stepping stone for the users just for that. And so for months now, we've developed a website that is soon to be released. And we are building a platform where anyone, no matter if they're a veteran member of the community or they're an absolute newbie to EOS, they'll have a place, a platform, brand new, to easily join and contribute to the EOS community. And so on our website, anyone will be able to create their account. Everyone will have their own dashboard. Our 9 different languages will have different community hubs where they have a new place where they can share news, information, and discuss among them. That's made so they don't have to build their own website in their own language for the EOS community. EOS Support has done that for them in the new website. And after that, we have a new authentication system on the blockchain. So with Port, that many of you know already, I'm sure. So for this new website, and well, we'll have this new authentication system. We have put also much effort into building an API that will send EOS Support IO information from our database to the blockchain and hash it to the blockchain directly. Other projects will also be able to reach out to us and implement the authentication system for them as well, and be able to use the API to pull information from us, from our news center, where we have daily almost articles there, translated to 9 different languages. We have the e-commerce section that is going to open on our website. So maybe for the first time ever, the users on EOS will have a reliable way to purchase EOS merchandise, not only in PayPal easily, but also in EOS. And well, the website redesign has been a long time coming, and a lot of code, smart contracts have been written for it. We have a new decentralized ticketing system also, with a new permission system that's made so it's even easier for people to join our organization and be allowed to participate in the ticketing if they have knowledge about EOS. All of that is made so everyone can bring value more easily to our organization. That's what counts. And we have also, well, a new contest and bounty system. And this is the interesting part. We'll have a way with it to be able to create contests like create an EOS course or a video tutorial. And we'll let our users vote on the best one and then use it to complement the EOS documentation, marketing strategies that we already have in place, all the while rewarding that person for creating that specific course or tutorial. So more so than with EOS Respect Ambassadorship program in the past, our new website is going to let anyone that wills to be a part of the EOS network and bring value, or to do it more easily. So additional features, well, we'll have a Dapp collection. We'll be able to rate and vote for the Dapps, link them to their EOS audit report for more added transparency, to make it easier for people to learn about the project. All of that is coming together through the website. And we also have an interactive roadmap coming also. It's going to be much more easier for the users to see where EOS is heading, what we have in store. And that's a lot. So we needed a way to make that clear for everyone also. So I feel like I'm going on a bit of a rant here. But hey, if it interests you, I'm very happy to give you more information about everything that we are building. Again, we've been building that for months and we couldn't be happier for everything that we have achieved. It's going to be available real soon to everyone in the community. We wanted to showcase that, hey, we're here. We've been building the EOS Support platform and organization for months since we began, and we've always strived to do even more. Through EOS Audit for more transparency to the community, through EOS Synergy, now that we have 4 different shows in 4 different languages that promote EOS around the world, and we have a decentralized community for it, and even more. So again, don't remember to check out our Twitter accounts, our social medias. Check out our reports if you're interested, and our project owner. Really, you are much to benefit to join EOS Support as an affiliated project, and we'll welcome you. So be sure to reach out to us on our website for that. So if anyone has any questions on any of what I just said, I'm very happy to answer any question you may have. And always, you are free to reach out to us on our website at any time, ever.
All right, Bishop, that was great. Pretty big update, if I do say so. The new website rollout sounds like a pretty big project that you guys have been working on for a while. So that's pretty exciting to hear that that's coming. That's going live soon.
Soon.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on to give us that update. We definitely appreciate it.
If anyone wants more information, it's going to be summarized in our semi-annual report. And, well, check out our news center. Even more articles about EOS made simpler for everyone to discover the news. And check out Genki. Check out all our affiliated projects. They're amazing, and we have vouched for them. And they have truly shown transparency to the community. So you can go to each season to our collection, EOS Respect on Pomelo, and all our affiliated projects are on there. And if you have any doubt on who to trust and who to vote for and who to donate EOS to, you can refer to EOS Audit and to these collections on Pomelo for that. So give some love to them as well.
Absolutely. And talking about these Pomelo projects, we're actually hoping to invite some of these projects onto the Fireside during the off season of Pomelo, and to get more updates from these Pomelo projects. So love that you guys have been working very hard on that, on the Pomelo audits. I think that's a great service to the community.
And to answer Andrew on the Fireside Chat, yes, EOS Audit will be releasing more top Pomelo grants review again. Yeah, definitely. It's where it's been created, and it's going to be there for a while, making sure that every project is transparent about how they're developing after receiving funding through Pomelo each season.
All right, thanks a lot, Bishop. If anyone has questions for Bishop, we can take a few moments. If not, yeah, I'm sure we'll hear from Bishop again in the near future.
You're goddamn right.
All right, thanks again, Bishop.
Thanks, Stefan.
All right, moving on to our next topic. We're going to cover our weekly EOS EVM updates. I want to remind everyone out there that the EOS EVM incentive program is still live. If you deploy your application to the EOS network, you apply for this program, you may qualify for up to $50,000 in incentives. So that's great. Motodex, one of these apps that has recently deployed on the network, recently held a AMA inside the EOS Network Foundation Telegram group, which is nice because it makes the information very easy to find. So I'll link that message in the chat here. Basically, we learned some more things about Motodex, about their team members, their roles, the types of categories and gameplay in Motodex. Of course, Motodex is a play to earn, so they talked about how the users play, what they do to earn, and a couple of questions from the crowd. So check that out if you want to learn more about Motodex. On top of that, this week there was also another announcement about this application called Open by C, which is the developer of the Motodex game. So that's something I learned this week. I'll share the tweet here in the chat. Basically, the ENF tweeted out saying that the ENF is excited to announce that Open by C has deployed on the EOS EVM, extending the capabilities of NFTs on the network. The integration brings both a multi-chain NFT marketplace and the Motodex GameFi project to the ecosystem. Learn more by going to openbyc.io. So very cool update. Cool to see more infrastructure being deployed on the EOS EVM, in this case, NFT marketplace, and some more GameFi projects launching on that platform. So that's always good to see. All right, what else do we have here? on the EOS EVM. Unfortunately, there's more news with the Multichain saga. Zach, if you're still around, maybe you want to give a quick update on what's going on with Multichain. And if Zach
Do you
is
have
not,
do you have the link to the update, the tweet?
Yes, give me a second.
I mean, it reads really like a bad movie.
Yeah, not the greatest update, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I mean, the update is essentially that the key holders of a lot of the MPC nodes and infrastructure was not nearly as decentralized as the team kind of has led on throughout this process. The tweet really tells the full story better than I could, but essentially the CEO of the project, who had all of the private keys and access to all of the servers, he was arrested May. I don't have the date in front of me. And then, so we that time frame in May is, I think, when the first issues kind of started with the multi-chain bridge, which was the first bridge to deploy to EOS, so for EOS EVM. And around that time that they mentioned that the CEO was arrested is the exact same time frame it was the cause of the suspension of services. If you guys recall, the multi-chain bridge was not working for about a month shortly after the EOS EVM launch. So it was kind of unfortunate timing. But one of the good things that happened because of that was a lot of capital kind of got off the bridge after that hiccup. So basically with that update, they mentioned that they shut down the rest of their infrastructure out of a precaution. Just no one really knows what the future is. We're kind of in the same boat. There is some communication still between ex-team members. We're waiting to see kind of what next steps are. There's over $1 billion of TBL locked up on their bridge right now. So everyone's kind of in the same boat as trying to figure out what the next steps are, how long it may take to resolve the issue, if the issue will get resolved at all. So we're very much in that same boat. As far as how we move forward, we've been, since like before the EVM even launched, the goal has always been to have multiple bridges, so that no one bridge serves as a single point of failure, because over the last 2 years, especially, a lot of the bridges have faced issues. So Nerve Network, their smaller bridge, they just announced publicly in a tweet, I believe it was last week, that they'll be deploying to EOS EVM. That bridge should be coming online by the end of the month, hopefully. There's 2 other bridges that should be coming online over the next couple of weeks. One of them is very close. The other one's a little bit further away. So there's should be in the very near future multiple bridges. And then on top of that, one of the highest priorities right now for the NF engineering team working on the EOS EVM is adding altcoin bridging to the trustless bridge between EOS EVM and native EOS. So that's coming too, as far as that all of these things were underway kind of before the multi-chain issue happened. But that'll bring native EOS USDT to the EOS EVM. That has been one of the biggest bottlenecks since launch of the EOS EVM, was that EOS was the only token that could use the trustless bridge, which is the only official bridge of the EOS EVM. That's the one that we built and support. So once we're able to bring native USDT to EOS EVM, that one will obviously be the most secure asset stablecoin on EOS EVM. And likely people will have a lot more trust in that than any of the independent third-party bridges. And it kind of coincides with the Yield Plus integration, which I believe is very near complete, or maybe it is complete. We just haven't rolled out the announcement yet, but with EOS EVM 0.5, which was the recent release a couple of weeks ago, part of the functionality that it included was extending, essentially creating a way for EOS native to read data on the EOS EVM to maintain the balance tables for yield plus, yield subsidies and reward distributions to the DeFi protocols. So once the trustless bridge is put in place, the two main assets will be that are supported with the Yield Plus program will be the native EOS version of USDT and EOS. Kind of went a few different directions there, but essentially right now the multi-chain bridge is suspended. It could be indefinitely. I hope that's not the case, but right now it is very sparse on details. We're both watching all of the other foundations and how they're reacting. So, for example, Phantom, the Phantom Network, they had hundreds of millions of dollars on that bridge, and that's all kind of up in the air right now for them. For the EOS EVM, there was roughly about 400K of TVL, and out of that 400K, 150K of it, over 33% of it, does belong to the ENF. So we were providing stablecoin USDT liquidity for cross-chain routing with MesonFi, which leveraged the multi-chain bridge. So we're very much in the same boat as everyone else, where we're waiting for an update from multi-chain, or on the multi-chain founders as far as like what next steps might be. So I highly suggest everyone, I guess, read that tweet. It tells the whole story of the timeline of events. It's pretty messed up. It's not good for the industry. This ideally will get resolved, but at this point, it's very much a big question mark.
Thanks for that update, Zach. The tweet I found was from July 7th. Is there another one more recent?
There should be, unless they took it down.
From Multichain.
Yeah, it was 5 days ago. It's the top one on their Twitter.
All right. There we go. So I'll just share the Twitter. There we go. Thanks, Liam. Yeah, that sucks for sure. If you have money tied up, definitely. Hopefully it gets resolved soon enough without too many losses for too many holders. All right, next up, we're talking about EOS Native. Actually, there was a vulnerability fix a couple weeks ago, and I'd like to invite Matt from the ENF to walk us through a bit what happened and the actions that the network took in response.
Hey, yeah. So a couple weeks ago, there was a security release. This is probably been the first one for a good while for Leap and Node.js. The rollout of this release went great. I actually hope there's somebody else on the call who was involved with that closer than I was that can chime in a little bit more on that aspect, because the amount of time from when we first disclosed the fix, like in a limited manner to block producers and others, and then that we had all the producers, or almost all the producers, upgrade, and then we had the public release. I mean, that amount of time was very small, like on the order of thing. It was really just a fantastic cooperation from the community and block producers to get this rolled out in a broad manner to protect the chain from what amounted to a denial of service attack, potentially. And yeah, what stemmed this was that internally, ENF developers discovered really two defects with regard to how Leap and really Node.EOS, I guess, handled contracts, handled EOS native smart contracts. And it really had to do with how resources were utilized when some EOS account would set a contract on their account. And I don't really mean this like when we talk about like RAM or CPU resources, like those sort of on-chain resources, but really this is like the physical RAM that Node.EOS would consume when an account has a contract assigned to it. And some of those some of this resource utilization was really, it wasn't a little out of whack, so to speak. And because of that, it could lead to a denial of service where like Node.EOS could be potentially crashed or just consume resources that were not in alignment with what like a user would have been paying for their on-chain contract. And yeah, we fixed this by really being more stingy with resources, would be the simple way of putting it. But we definitely protected against this denial of service attack avenue that we discovered internally through this security release. Any more questions or?
Yeah, well, thanks for the update. Give it a moment or two if people want to jump in here, ask Matt a question, and then maybe we'll throw it over to Nathan James afterwards. Talk a bit about another a upcoming Twitter Spaces.
Hi, Stefan. I've just got one question. I didn't catch the amount of money that we're talking about, the number of EOS that we're talking about, stock or value.
Oh yeah, so I mean, for this particular security defect, funds were never at risk in any manner. This was really a denial of service attack against Node.EOS, in the sense that somebody like an attacker who has an attacker could spend could spend a certain amount of funds that were not as high as maybe you would expect to consume a lot of resources on Node.EOS, and that could cause Node.EOS to fail or simply consume a lot more resources than what somebody would expect when they typically run Node.EOS. So yeah, it strictly was a denial of service attack. It was never a case where funds could be stolen or anything of that nature.
So I guess a better question that I could ask is, how much is stuck on the bridge?
Okay. So that's
the previous topic. That's not related. That's on the EOS EVM side, and the multi-chain organization. Here we're talking on the EOS native side, a bug fix to the underlying blockchain protocol.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
If I understood correctly,
question, it's a little over 400K. So it's relatively, I mean, it's definitely 6 figures of capital, but it's one of the lower, out of the 115 or the 93 chains supported by Multichain, we're really on the low end. And part of that is because the EOS EVM had just launched, and like 3 weeks after launch, the bridge services were suspended for a month. So it never really had the chance to pick up adoption. The chains and the protocols that are kind of in a much worse position are the ones that have relied on multi-chain as like their go-to bridge for years. So Phantom being a prime example of that. Phantom has over $200 million of stable coins alone in TVL using that bridge, on top of multiple altcoins and derivatives of altcoins and things like that. But what Matt was discussing, Steph said, completely different issue. To add to what Matt said, from the time that the block producers were made aware of this hot fix, Everything was kind of handled in private because obviously there was an exploitable issue at hand. So it was kind of done in private, and everyone updated their infrastructure with the new software within 48 hours of starting to work with them and communicating to them what the issue was at hand. So props to all of the block producers from a communication standpoint. We waited until all top 21 nodes were verified to be updated before making the public announcement. On top of that, it was a really informative exercise of how the network would handle a potential exploit like this. Like Matt said, there's no finances at stake, but what it could have still had nodes going down, which would have caused a disruption of services, which would not look good for the network, and it would not look good for our the feather in our hat that we have for the 5 years of reliability. Maintaining that reliability is of the utmost importance to not just the ENF, but the entire EOS network, all of the block producers, every Dapp developer. Maintaining that reliability factor is of the utmost importance. So getting this bug, or not even a bug, I don't know what we even call it, this potential exploit fixed was of the utmost importance, and the block producers executed. The other thing that was interesting and informative about this exercise is it was the first time that we were in a position where everything had to be kind of kept quiet until the upgrade happened, but we also wanted to share information with other blockchains running the Antelope stack. So in the group that had the EOS block producers in it, a lot of the block producers also produce blocks for other Antelope networks, so that made it easy as far as if they're going to upgrade their node infrastructure for EOS, they'd obviously upgrade their node infrastructure also for Wax, Telos, UX Network, or any of the non-coalition chains. So I don't know the status. We were not tracking and are not tracking whether or not the other Antelope chains have updated. But it was kind of a positive exercise of going through this process and being able to do it efficiently. It also kind of showcases one of the dangers of not running the Antelope stack. So there are some chains that, for example, are still running EOS.io. And for those chains, they may, I believe, still be open to this exploit because it was only made backwards compatible back to a certain version number. So the patch was added to, Matt would probably know better than I do, but maybe like the last 4 or 5 releases. And it didn't go back further than that because we can't support every piece of software. At this point, all of the coalition chains have all updated. EOS is updated, and obviously we engineer the stack for the EOS network and for the Antelope coalition. So those chains obviously are of the highest priority.
Yeah, we did do the upgrade. We did provide upgrades for or updated software for 3.1, 3.2, and 4.0, and which is, 3.1 is that's well over a year old at this point. So yeah, we did try to provide updates for a fair number of recent versions to really help ease this upgrade for users.
I have a quick question. This is Drew. I don't know if Stefan is muted and trying to talk, but
I was just about to put the music on, Drew, but you go for it if you got a question.
yeah. So I've experienced random transactions taking like way more resources than the same transaction did previous time I did it. Is this potentially related to the fix for these sort of transactions that consume too many resources?
I wouldn't expect it to be related. It's hard to see how they'd be related. So sounds like maybe a different issue that would be interesting to troubleshoot, but probably not related to this.
Okay.
Wasn't it mostly a RAM issue?
Yeah, and this issue is not really even transaction based, at least per se. It's really about a contract being set on an account and how many contracts there are. So it's not really even anything transaction based, besides the fact that, you have to use a transaction to set a contract. So
The way I kind of explained it to myself is it was almost as if, let's say you deploy a contract, and these numbers are just made up to simplify. Imagine if the network charges me for 1 kilobyte of RAM to deploy the contract to the EOS network, but in the background, it actually is using like 2 or 3 kilobytes of RAM, even though it only charged me for 1. If one person did it one time, it wouldn't really cause a problem. There'd be a tiny deficit. But the exploit, and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the exploit would have been if someone took that subsidy and deployed, I don't know if it'd be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of very small contracts, which would essentially have a subsidized amount of RAM that wasn't being accounted for, and they could essentially just waste all of the network's RAM to brick the node.
yeah, I think that's a perfect explanation of one of the two defects. The only part I would point out is a little bit different. Is that, like, in your example, you're kind of talking about like a double or a triple overhead, but in reality, it could be a lot worse, which is why this becomes more of a pressing security issue that needs to be fixed. But it's spot on in the sense that when a contract is deployed to an account, we actually bill RAM already at an increased rate for that contract. For those who've been using EOS for a while, you may have seen that we bill RAM at a 10x multiplier for a contract, right? So if your WebAssembly contract is 1 kilobyte, you get billed 10 kilobytes of RAM resource to deploy it. But exactly as Zach put it, the problem here was that the node may end up using more than 10 kilobytes of physical RAM, and exactly what Zach says.
Huh, that's interesting and enlightening. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for sharing, guys. Next up, just want to give a quick preview about a Twitter Spaces happening tomorrow morning on AIGC-driven security and privacy. Nathan's going to be on there. Nathan, if you're around, if you want to give us a quick explanation on what this topic's all about.
Or can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. So this is a space with 3 other entities, Mars Search, Pop App, and Atom Network. I just posted them here in the chat as well. Basically, this is about something called AIGC. AIGC is AI generated content, meaning content that's generated using things like ChatGPT or Midjourney. So imagery is also content, but that doesn't have to be large form content. So even a small 20 character piece of text is still considered AI generated content if, of course, an AI generated. So we're going to be talking about the implications of AI generated content on security and privacy, how it can be used to enhance security of Web3 applications, what the impact of security on Web3 applications is due to it, and how we can prevent vulnerabilities in smart contracts, as well as other challenges at the cross section between AIGC and Web3. I could list off all the questions, but I'd like for people to actually show up and hear the questions there. I think that would be a better outcome.
No, for sure. Thanks for explaining it quickly here and sharing with us a bit what this space is all about. All right. Next up, I'd like to invite Yves onto the stage if Yves is available right now. I'd like to hear about his upcoming trip to Japan and the hashtag OPOE that I've seen around a little bit. Yves, welcome to the Fireside.
Welcome. Those are 2 completely separate topics, but let's try to combine them. So I am heading to Japan next week. I'm speaking at the WebEx conference next I believe it's going to be the Wednesday. It's the 26th, which for a lot of the people on this call right now, if you're in North America, then it would be the 25th at night for you sometime, or in the middle of the night. So I'm speaking there. The panel, sorry, it's not a panel. It's a fireside, and the topic's already been chosen. And so we'll be going there, meeting with others within the space. Obviously, we've got a bunch of business meetings lined up. Japan is an interesting jurisdiction for us. EOS is not listed in Japan. The way that the Japanese government very early on took an approach to regulations on crypto. They were one of the first ones. So even in 2017, during the ICO rush, Japan already had regulations on crypto. And it made it very tight for people to be able to deploy or to have their tokens listed in Japan. And so it's a jurisdiction with very, very few listings, extremely tight regulations around crypto, in a way very forward-looking. They were one of the first ones, but at the same time, since 2017, they've lagged quite a bit. And with the surge in I guess in regulatory approaches around the world, in particular Hong Kong as one of the main ones, but Dubai as well, Japan retook an interest in crypto from a regulatory perspective late last year. And so for us, it's a really interesting market because it's a market that EOS is not in currently. We did have roots there very early on in the beginning. There are a few block producers that were based out of Japan early on. There's one that's still based out of Japan now. So EOS Lao Mao is still based out of Japan. And so, yeah, going to go meet some people there, do some business development. Obviously, there's a lot of, in Japan, a lot of gaming IP. So everybody obviously knows the large consoles, the Sonys, the Nintendos, a lot of that IP is located in Japan. So unlocking some of that, trying to see if we can open doors on that front. And then just generally preparing for, again, the circuit that's about to happen after Japan. We enter the fall where you get the Korea Blockchain Week and Token 2049 back-to-back. And so people are kind of at this point in that phase already, culminating to those larger events at the end of the year. So it should be really interesting, should be really good. I haven't gone back in a while. In formal, I guess, capacity, I haven't been in quite some time. So it'll be interesting to see where the market's at. I was unable to make the June Kyoto event. We canceled before the event occurred. And so I was going to be there for 2 events back to back, cancel that first one. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like right now. The Prime Minister is delivering, I think the Prime Minister is delivering the opening words for that event. So again, kind of this idea that Japan is in a very unique position from a jurisdiction or a regulatory point of view, and seeing how we can position EOS well in that market. So it should be a pretty interesting event. Our main marketing partners, Market Across / Inbound Junction. There are some of the media leads there too, so we should be able to get some interesting tidbits out of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if you had anything else in particular, Steph, for Japan.
The one thing I had noted down was the title of an upcoming panel talk or upcoming talk that you're doing.
So the one in Japan?
I'm not sure if that was the one in Japan or not. Or if
so the fireside that I'm doing, or I guess the speech, it's a 20-minute fireside. So it'll be me and a moderator. Just found out this morning that the moderator will be different, someone irrelevant, but the topic, which I don't know if that moderator had chosen or not, but it is not just theater, how EOS got rid of Block 1. So that's the name of the topic. That's what they've requested. That's what they've given us as a topic to talk about. So I don't know if that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I kind of I liked this title when I heard it for the first time. Implying about the decentralized theater that we see in crypto oftentimes. So I think that's going to be a good topic for you to frame the story of EOS within.
Yeah, so if not, typically before panels or anything like that, we typically have kind of an email thread back and forth with the other panelists, or in this case with the moderator, to see where the moderator's thinking of taking that, or if they've got any particular questions or anything like that. I've not gotten that yet, and so if there's anything, right now it's basically a surprise. I have no idea what they're going to ask, where they're going to go. It really is, we follow their lead. And basically introduce EOS to a whole, I guess, new group of people that really don't know very much about EOS in a jurisdiction where EOS is not even available for people to purchase. The great thing about Japan, though, is that if ever you do get a listing in Japan, the system is extremely, maybe robust is not the right word, but let's say concretely, you can go to the convenience store and you can buy things using crypto right now in Japan. You could, if you wanted as an individual, take your pay in crypto right now, because they do consider that as a form of payment. For example, that's very different than other jurisdictions. So Japan is typically very slow to onboard things, and they're very tight with their regulations. But once you're in, you're formally in. And I don't know, Zach, if you have the number, but I think there's only 28 or so tokens that are formally listed in Japan that people can actually purchase and or trade. So the number is extremely low. And so, yeah, trying to make some grounds there and trying to get EOS opening, or trying to get Japan to open up to EOS as part of the main goal of this.
I had a buddy actually telling me just this morning how he was in Japan last month at a crypto conference, 2 of them actually, and he said it was booming out there. So sounds exciting for you to go out there.
And I think the other thing you had asked for was the OPOE, or the only possible on EOS.
Totally unrelated topic, but I just wanted to make sure to get your thoughts on it while we had you here on stage.
Yeah, and it's just a little tagline. I think it's pretty cool. I originally really liked as well the idea of the new EOS. And so that latest tagline is OPOE. Of course, people are going to say it's possible on other chains. Yes, it is. That's not the point. You're missing the point. You're not the person we're talking to. This just concept in general of branding EOS as very high performant, being reliable, being secure, etc. And it's just a very small brand tagline that people can use, right? Hashtag OPOE doesn't take many characters. And it just highlights this idea of come to EOS. You can do that on EOS. It's possible on EOS type of thing.
Right. So I'm not sure if we said it. OPOP stands for only possible on EOS, in case people had missed it earlier there. Very cool. I like it. All right. Anything else you wanted to share with us today, Yves? If not, then
so I don't know the exact number. It's really hard to know how many tokens are listed in Japan because there's no official list I can find in English. But it's under 20. So every they have like a regulatory framework and a strict process. So it is a very limited set. The other piece to add is that we just got confirmation yesterday, I think, that even though the talks will not be live streamed, they will be published to the CoinPost YouTube after the fact. So usually the turnaround on those for conferences is usually a week or two. So everyone can expect to kind of see the replay afterwards, which we'll be sharing that through all of our official channels. And CoinPost, they're like the largest crypto news publication for the Japanese market. So that's who, I'm not sure if the new moderator is also with CoinPost, but CoinPost is the organizers of, like, the main organizers of the event. And the other big milestone, although it's personal and not work-related, is that I don't think this has been public, but Yves been a bachelor for the last 2 months, working day and night on EOS. His wife is from Japan, so she has been spending the summer there with his kid. And I was with Yves last week in Ottawa, and did not meet his family. I did visit his lovely home. But But yeah, when he goes to Japan, it'll be the first time that he's seeing his wife and child in several months, because just being around him last week and seeing how he works, we maintained all of our usual calls and cadences. It's like the day never ends. It starts very early in the morning and goes very late at night, because essentially after dinner time, it's basically Asia waking up and more calls. So I'm looking forward to Yves being able to see his family. But that's, I believe, after the conference.
Well, if we're sharing personal things about Yves, want to give a shout out to Yves for getting in shape lately. I called him out a year and a half ago or something. I felt one of the pictures kind of had the stomach showing. There's no more stomach showing from the latest picture that I saw. And so, yeah, good job on Yves getting in tip-top shape and representing the EOS network to the best of your ability. Round of applause for that. All right, moving on to our next topic. At this point, I'd like to invite James Koutoulas, an attorney, one of the lead attorneys for a class action lawsuit that is currently ongoing against Block One. This one is different than the one that the ENF has been talking about recently and is helping organize. So I'm just gonna leave it there and invite James to come talk to us about what he's been working on.
Thank you. And I got scared for a second there. I thought it was over when the kind of applause came. But yeah, thanks for having me. We've been working on this class action a couple years now. It's in Southern District of New York and limited to U.S. purchasers of either the ERC 20 or EOS from about mid 2017 through mid 2020. The case has been settled now a second time. We originally had a settlement for $27 million, which included a global release of claims, so beyond the U.S., which was something that Block One had put in the settlement docs. The judge rejected that global release and had stricter limitations to the language in the settlement, so he chopped off like $5 million on the settlement. So currently, right now, we have a pool of $22 million where people could file claims at block1-settlement.com. That website has an online claim form. It has like a PDF claim form where you could print that out and look at what information you need before you start the web version. It also goes into what exact transactions qualify for this. Compared to a lot of the other, crypto class actions, the settlement's actually pretty strong. Reuters called it a template for crypto.
Oh, you cut out there, James.
Yeah, sorry, someone called me on a non-VoIP line. But yeah, as it stands now, a couple of the big U.S. victims have told us they aren't going to even bother to file claims. So we anticipate the percentage recovery of anybody who does file and their claim is approved as fitting the criteria for the transactions. We do expect them to get a pretty high recovery. The exact amount we won't know until August 30th, which is the claims deadline. But, we do want to get the word out to everybody possible to let them know that, the case has been settled, that the claims process is open, that you go to block1-settlement.com to get information. You could also ask me any questions. I'm in 3 of the different EOS Telegram channels and on Twitter. Username is James, Koutoulas, all one word. But yeah, this has been, years of work. We were hoping this is the case. We could take all the way to trial. There were, a couple wrinkles in it, which led the lead plaintiff to accept the settlement, which I can't really get into until after we get court approval. But we do think that this is a good avenue of recovery for U.S. customers, and we are also trying to coordinate with the EOS Foundation and their counsel to see if we could be of help with what they're planning on doing in what looks to be a non-U.S. Jurisdiction, and want to help maximize the recoveries for any purchasers of EOS in those first 3 years.
All right. So, and this is only available to U.S. residents, to be clear for everyone.
So it's U.S. residents, or there is a carve-out for certain U.S. transactions that were verified by EOS block producers within the U.S.
Well, I'm not too sure what that means, but
basically you got to prove that the transaction was completed in the U.S. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a U.S. citizen, but if you have a situation where at the time of the purchase, both the purchaser and seller were in the U.S., or
the transaction was confirmed by a block producer
a U.S.
located
block producer.
in the U.S.
Exactly.
So if their transaction was confirmed by EOS Nation block producer, which is based in Canada, does not qualify, but if it's another one in the U.S. would qualify. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And then the other important part here to mention, I think, is what the implications are of, claiming through this class action compared to joining the other class action that is currently being organized by the ENF that we've talked about on the Fireside previously. Does claiming one restrict you from joining the other?
So it does if the claims made are the same, right? So if you've got a U.S. transaction and the ENF winds up filing a non-U.S. case, it's very unlikely that your claim, that you would have an option to participate in the non-U.S. case, right? The EOS Foundation has not yet filed a suit or come up with a complaint, so I can't definitively, say what they are going to file. But in my conversations with them, it does seem that whatever claims they bring are going to be outside the U.S., so that would be separate from this.
Hey James, it's Yves.
Yeah.
So we met James last week, got on a call and just try to get to see kind of where there's overlap, where there's potential distinction, where there's potential collaboration and such. On that front, I guess two things. So one, you were talking about the location of the block producers before. That's going to be interesting because are you talking about the physical person? Are you talking about the legal entity? Or are you talking about the node itself? That's going to change, I think. So I don't know if there's clarification or that you can provide clarification right now. So for example, a block producer could have people located in a country. Their nodes are running on AWS, but in another country, or infrastructure that they rent in another country. And then they can be incorporated in a third jurisdiction as well. So which one of the three is the one that you're looking at?
So that is not clear in the claim or in the notice. So if you are in a situation where you want to make the case to make a claim, I would argue as such, right? If whatever criteria fit your U.S. claim, I would argue that. That is not explicitly set out by the claims processing agent. Which is separate from us lawyers, right? We're here, to advise, get the best settlement we can, help people with claims, where they're processed independently by a claims administrator.
Yeah, so I guess for context, for most people listening, the majority of the block producers, whether you look at it from one of the 3 points I just mentioned, either physical location, node location, or incorporation location, very few of them were in the US. So it actually doesn't, it really doesn't, that's likely not your entry point. It is possible, but that's likely not your entry point. The other thing to bring up, based on what you mentioned, James, is your class action currently has 5 claims, correct? 5 claims that you're making that yes. I guess block 1 did not fulfill X, Y, Z or whatever. So there is an overlap of claims likely. And so to clarify a bit for people, it is more likely than not that you cannot participate in both. And so if you participate in one, you're excluding yourself from the other. At the same time, it's also highly likely that if you don't opt out of the current one, you are being captured by it without even perhaps knowing. So you are excluding yourself of another by not opting out should you go that path. That decision, though, really falls upon a personal decision, one by one, as a token holder, what is best for you. So it's not something that I can advise, but it's more complicated than that. So there's the jurisdictional issues, there's the timing issues, there's the claims and the overlapping claims. There are multiple different factors at play here when people make their decision as to whether or not they want to participate in one or the other, or whether or not they're even eligible for one or the other.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so one thing I think a lot of people don't realize in class actions is you are opted in by default, even if you're not aware of the class action. So the claims processing agents have been running ads and sending notices out as many ways as they could think of. Crypto is a lot different than a typical securities class action. If you have a class action against Apple, Apple has a register of every shareholder of a given date, has their emails. There's all sorts of information that's known by a traditional company that you don't know due to the anonymity of the blockchain. Like you can't just send a DM to someone's wallet address, for example, right? So, I've been trying to get the word out as much as possible on Telegram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, etc., so that people are aware of this. But if you did have any transactions between mid-2017 and mid-2020 with US Nexus, with the exchanges that are listed, or any other criteria of the class, you do need to make a decision. Either file a claim or opt out. So it would be very helpful, I think, if ENF Council gets like a draft complaint, at least, ready before the August 30th deadline, for filing, so that people can evaluate whether they want to file a claim for this 22 million US transaction related pool, or if they want to file an opt-out, and try to join, that yet to be filed class action.
Or just to opting out as well. So there's also the opt-out component. If you opt out, you could potentially join neither, assuming that the ENF1 is filed before then, for example. And that in itself creates a new class that Block 1 wants to negotiate with. That is also another legal strategy that we've seen a firm, Nemesis, is encouraging people to opt out because they believe they'll be able to get at the negotiation table with Block 1 to get a higher amount for those that opt out than those that essentially not opt in, but send in their information. So there's really 3 different potential venues here for token holders to ascertain. And we know in our community, particularly challenging is that we're having this discussion in English. We're having this right now during Western hours, but the largest communities and the largest token holders are by far in Asia. And so that's going to be a tricky part as well. As James mentioned, you are automatically in unless you opt out, and you can't use, to the best of the work that we've done as well, in the research we've done, you can't use, what would be the term, not knowing,
ignorance of it,
ignorance as a means, right? So you do have to make a decision essentially, or that decision is being made for you. And obviously that's what Block One wants, right? So they want it to be as wide as possible in what that the class essentially, who was in that class, because they want to just do this once and be over with. And so they want that to be all inclusive as much as possible.
Yeah, and so doing nothing is like the worst of all worlds, because you're giving up legal rights, but then you're barred from receiving any settlement. So like you can't get a settlement unless you actually file a claim. So anybody who transacted through the US, you should absolutely at least go to the website, which is block1-settlement.com, review the FAQs, look at your transactions, and decide either to make a claim or opt out.
And there's somebody in the channel, Trembot, you're bringing one correction. Correct. So obviously only if you're qualified for that class are you automatically in that class. And then you give an example. So if you're in Asia and you bought from an Asian exchange, it's actually not that simple, because, for example, you could have been in Asia but bought through the ICO. And so you're in Asia, but you bought through the ICO, and so you're actually trigger being part of the class because you bought essentially directly from Block One. And then it's even more complicated than that. A lot of people in Asia bought through conglomerates. The conglomerates were buying, let's say, $100 to $150 million worth of EOS, and then they were reselling it at basically within their respective jurisdiction. And so there's still some uncertainty as to whether or not that is the conglomerate part of the class, is the end user part of the class. We're still not sure on that front yet. So it's really not that simple.
And does this qualify for non-Americans? Or
correct, because it doesn't have to do with whether or not you're an American.
Yeah, it's all about where the transaction occurred. So there's a whole list of exchanges. So like Coinbase, Tagomi, Routefire, Paradex, Coinbase Pro, GDAX, Kraken, Poloniex, Bittrex, Binance US, Genesis, Cumberland, FTX US, Gemini, Radar Relay, CoinFlip, or it's purchase of either the ERC-20 or the EOS, where both purchaser and seller were in the US at the time of purchase, or ERC-20 purchased direct from Block One during the ICO, or EOS tokens verified by EOS block producers located within the US. So if you are in the class, if any of those apply to you, or at least those tokens, more precisely, are in the class. So you're going to want to either make a claim or opt out, for any of those tokens.
And you're going to opt out on that same website?
Yeah.
All right.
We have any more questions now? If you think of anything later, you could DM me on Telegram or Twitter.
Rodrigo has a question here in the chat. Let's see. He says, does the 22 million class action settlement dictates that you have to demonstrate realized/unrealized losses? So even if I bought in the ICO and sold the EOS later for a higher price, participating will come out to zero awarded?
Yeah, you have to actually have losses, but realized or unrealized. So the language there is an FAQ number 4 when it says, quote, and were damaged thereby. So if you made money on, transactions where you made.
What's the time frame for these transactions?
It's the specific date is June 26th, 2017 through May 18th, 2020.
So if you bought EOS and then sold at a loss through those exchanges during that time period, you're eligible for a claim.
And if you're psychologically damaged by EOS Rebrand, maybe take your whatever the bills that you have for your psychologist and submit those.
Yeah, I should go get one. Huh?
James will refund that one personally.
No comment.
All right, thanks, James.
Well,
Any other questions from the crowd?
Maybe I missed this. I'm not sure. This is Lovejoy. So is there a scenario potentially where someone could opt in to the first class, and then because there is not overlap, could also
there would likely be
the second class? There would likely be
there's based on the 5 claims that they're making, there is at least one claim that will be an overlap.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, where you could potentially be in both is if you had some purchases that are U.S. and some purchases that are non-U.S.
I see. Okay.
James, well, we have you on here. Would you be interested in telling us a story of how you served Block 1 with this lawsuit?
Pretty good story. How can I refuse? So yeah, we had a process server, big jack dude in a weed hat, showed up to the Brock Pierce presidential headquarters opening party, and handed Brock the papers while he was holding a pair of giant scissors, which one of the funniest tweets I've ever seen was someone saying, Brock, papers, scissors, papers win.
Classic. That's hilarious.
Good legal humor today on this Wednesday.
Papers win a lot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would like to see them held accountable for all $4 billion, raised in the ICO. There's a couple, procedural issues that make that, I think, very difficult. But I'm happy to help as much as possible with what you guys are planning in non-US jurisdictions.
I've got a question, Stefan. I didn't catch your first name, sir.
Mine is James.
Hi, James. My name is Perry. I've got a question about any depositions of, let's say, for example, Dan Larimer and NDAs. Are you going to be able to pierce NDAs and find out, not just Dan, but from Block 1, to find out what happened in the decisions to decide where to spend the money?
So in our case, the lead plaintiff chose to accept the settlement offer ahead of discovery. So we were not able to conduct any discovery. So, that's kind of a moot point in our case. Our case, basically went on for, 2 years of procedural, motions and briefing and whatnot. And then, they made the settlement offer to us, and then it was accepted. So we did not get to do discovery.
in your world, would you think that your peers would consider 22 million out of 4 billion a win?
Well, so the 22 million is a very limited subset of the 4 billion, right? It's limited to, specific claim amounts. So from what we've been seeing in talking to U.S. purchasers, we do expect that recovery should be very high for the people who do fit in the class.
Meaning they'll get a lot of money for how much they lost, but 22 million out of 4 billion, I don't know. It seems I don't have a lot of experience in that area.
Yeah, well, that's because the vast majority of those of that 4 billion was raised outside of the U.S. And in the U.S., we were limited to these U.S. Nexus transactions. And then there's also some very large, U.S. buyers who are factored in, to our initial calculations of how big the U.S. pool was, but who have said that they do not want to file any claims because, of various reasons. But like they will not be, partaking in the settlement pool. So that's why. Based on what we've seen, and look, a flood of claims could come in on the last day of people that we, don't know about or that we haven't spoken to. But, we are expecting a pretty high recovery for people who do file, based on some of these large purchasers indicating that they are not going to file.
Do you see any of the other claims? Any of the other lawsuits going to a place where they would be piercing NDAs and asking those hard questions where the money did go?
Different jurisdictions have different rules. Honestly, I think where a lot of the money went is pretty well known, right? They basically bought 185,000 Bitcoin. For the benefit of Block 1 and their principals, right? And then much of that has found its way into bullish.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks, James.
You're very welcome.
All right, and the deadline to file this opting out or a claim is August 30th. Did I get that right?
So the opt-out deadline is actually August 29th, and then the claim deadline is August 30th.
All right, so just over a month to do this. Okay, good to know about these things, for sure. Any other questions from the crowd while we got James on here? All right, well, thanks for joining us. And if people have questions, they can reach out on the socials as you mentioned, and I posted them in the chat as well.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye, James. Okay, moving on to a couple quick topics before talking to some more guests. Chintai had an AMA earlier this morning. If you want, an AMA on Twitter Spaces. So if you want to listen to that, I shared the link below. It's actually shared from Philip's personal account at HamnetPhilip. So you can check that out if you want to learn more about what's going on with Chintai. They came on the Fireside a month or two ago with some exciting updates. So looking forward for those real world asset tokenization platform to launch. And then another quick update from Defibox. It's their 3rd anniversary right now. Looks like these tweets don't show previews anymore on Discord. Very annoying, Elon. Why are you doing that to us? So there's some promotions going on Defibox for their anniversary. You can do a stake USDT, participate in USN plus USDT mining, enjoy some boosted yields, deposit box and win some box rewards, and some giveaways and some airdrops. Check that out if you're a user of Defibox. All right. Our next guest on the show today, I'd like to invite Jun Dam to talk to us about Eos.dboard.ai. Jun, I see your server muted. Let me unserver mute you. That might help. There you go. Jun, are you with us right now?
Hey, Stefan, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, we can hear you. Welcome to the Fireside.
Hey, thanks for the invite. For those that don't know me, I'm Jun Dam, and mainly working on Bitcash and EOS Wallet and P2P crypto on-ramp. So a couple weeks ago, we launched the MVP of dboard for EOS token holders and invited a handful of people. And I just want to thank the Pomelo platform and all the donors for making it happen. And after I forget which seasons we ran, but we finally launched the MVP. So looking for feedback and people to check it out. It's EOS.dboard.ai, and feel free to log in with Anchor and check it out. I could give you a little background on dboard. It's a tool for DAOs. With cryptocurrencies, we have a new money, we have new financial infrastructure with DeFi, but DAOs are, I think, the next killer app in our space, and I believe dboard's the missing piece. If you participate in the EOS network, or if you just have working on a Dapp or DeFi or NFT project, I'm sure you're either using a DAO or you want to use one in this space. So I think this could be very valuable for you. Organizing human activity remains our greatest challenge. I think a lot of DAOs are disorganized, even dysfunctional. We have a very rudimentary type worker proposal systems. So, essentially, a lot of times you can propose any activity or project with very little engagement or iteration on the proposals. There's not really a strategy oftentimes with these that you could create with these worker proposal tools. It's either yes or no and you vote and that's it. So the dboard changes that. It allows people to share their ideas starting from a discussion forum, collaborate, brainstorm, and then make proposals and debate them and have a process for amendment. So you could iterate, refine proposals before they get voted on. We have the pre-vote stage or phase that is just really just pre-vetting proposals. And then after it passes that, we'll have a final vote phase. So there's just a process. It's 5 stages, but it goes from discussion to action. And I think that process is incredibly important to make organization efficient and just help people collaborate and organize. So let me see. Yeah, so that's pretty much the idea. We launched it, and it's you can just think of it as a grassroots EOS stakeholder DAO. I mean, we could maybe discuss what the state of governance on EOS is, but essentially, I think we can create this grassroots EOS DAO just based on people who have 1 token, 100 tokens, 1,000, even 1 million, whatever it is. Just have a place to discuss a lot of the activity on the network, just propose resolutions. And even if it's just symbolic in the beginning, I think over time we can eventually be an influential voting bloc within the EOS community. So I think using this tool will create a lot of transparency, a lot of, I think we could bring a lot of underrepresented Dapp developers or community organizers together and just grow organically. So I encourage people to check out EOS.dboard.ai and just post an idea, start with conversation on a topic that's important. Just anything dealing with the EOS network. We're starting with EOS. It's out there for everyone to kind of make what they want of this. And we're happy to kind of just keep improving and iterating on this tool for people. We plan to use it with Bitcash. We also will have a dboard organization that uses dboard. So I think I'm excited about just improving it as we go. And so yeah, just use your Anchor account, go to Eos.dboard.ai, and hope you guys participate. Thanks for those limited invites that I've passed around for those who actually posted or at least made a comment on it so far. But yeah, we're looking for just the few people to kind of get something going, to kind of make it their own, and be happy to kind of grow together with them as we build out dboard. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer questions you guys have.
Yeah, thanks for that presentation. I just logged in for the first time here while you were talking to try it out. Everything worked out smoothly. I upvoted a comment in the EOS Needs meme coin thread saying Froggy Swap should have been called Pepe Swap. Nice one. Got an upvote from me, and then I posted. So all of these things are being tracked on chain from my account. That's right.
Yeah, well, so the discussion is not really our focus of what's on chain are the proposals and the voting.
Oh, I see.
So the discussion is off chain, and but really.
But it's using my EOS account name as username to post.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you need to have an EOS token to participate, log in, and then also vote, of course. So yeah, whatever, it's just based on stake. So we started with the EOS token, but if you have your own app, you can just configure one token as kind of representative of your organization, and then you can do the same activities for those that have this token. You can implement one token, one vote as well. It's just the easiest way to do that is, for each member, they'll have some token that represents their unique identity. So for example, if you want to use it for Eden, anyone with the Eden NFT could get this token that you use as a proxy for a member of this organization, and then you can easily use that token to vote as well. So yeah, nonprofit organizations, membership organizations will eventually be able to use this the same way. But yeah, we're focused more on the stake-based mechanics for now, since most blockchain projects are stake-based. So yeah, excited if you guys check it out. It's Eos.dboard.ai, and just feel free to just participate, just throw some comments or questions in there, any topic of interest on EOS. Hopefully this is just we're just starting from scratch and just trying to build a stake-based EOS community now, and we'll see how it goes. But one other thing too with the .ai it's like everything that I'm kind of doing is kind of AI first, or implementing and using AIs, and I think even governance is going to, we're going to be able to really, be super efficient and use AI to even help us with governance. So you can imagine proposals generated by AI, and even your comments, and these tools are incredible these days. So eventually we're going to implement that down the road. So, but we want to get the basics. Down first, and then I could just imagine. I think one of the problems with governance is just apathy. It takes time to participate, and you imagine with the technology we have. Number one, once you have the right tools, it'll make it more efficient. Later on, with AI tools, I mean, you could just imagine just a few clicks, and you could generate things that it would take hours to come up with. And I feel that that's going to really help engagement and activity on governance as well as everything else. So yeah, hopefully you guys participate and please check it out.
All right. Thanks, Jun, for the update. Thanks for coming on the Fireside. And yeah, see you on D-board.
Thanks a lot, Stefan. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Okay, moving on to our final guests of the show. A bit later than I had anticipated, but here we go. Eden Creators has a new CMO. And so at this point, I'd like to invite Rosmari onto the stage and talk to us about some of the projects that she's been working on recently.
Thanks, Stefan, and hey, everyone. Thanks for the invite, first of all, and hope everyone's having a good day or night wherever you are in the world. And in case you don't know me, I'm Rosmari. I'm the new Chief Marketing Officer at Eden Creators and also a host of Community Stories podcast, which I'm going to share more about later. So a bit about me, I'm going to talk about just an intro to me, then my work at Eden Creators, experience so far in the EOS and Eden Fractal community, and then intro to Community Stories podcast. And then we'll hear from the first two guests on Community Stories, actually, Dancing Joy and Douglas, aka Goodoso. So with that, I'm gonna start just telling you a bit more about me. So I joined Web3 and the EOS community through Eden Fractal. That happened quite recently, like 4 months ago, and that actually has changed my life. So who invited me was Douglas in February. That happened in Mexico, actually. We were on a trip, and then I met him, and so he told me about Fractal and how amazing he is, and then I joined. And it's been an amazing experience so far. It's just fascinating to see consensus games and just the way that people reach consensus in a timely manner, and that is all filmed and produced, and it's kind of free and available for everyone to watch. Really, it's like a show. So that gives a great example of decentralized community, and it was just something that I was not aware of, but I was actually in search of. So that really inspired me to just dig into it and just continue joining. So I actually haven't really missed many meetings since then. My background is in marketing, and I've worked in a kind of large tech company too. So that kind of added to the whole vibe of Web3 and the innovations that go along with it. And I just stuck. So here I am. I'm appointed as the Chief Marketing Officer at Eden Creators. It's been a month and a half now. And I've been working alongside Dancing Joy. And I'm doing a variety of projects, such as video production. I've been co-hosting different shows, like, for example, Fractal APO episodes, where we sing and do fun stuff, and also encourage people to donate to Pomelo grants and just in general create more public goods. It's been amazing, and just sharing all those experiences with everyone, even on this call, is just great. And I feel very good to be speaking here. So thanks again for giving me the opportunity. You're probably going to be seeing more of Eden Fractal coming up, such as tweets and just different social media outreach, as well as the podcast that I just mentioned. I'm going to talk about just a bit more. I'm going to also provide links to everything that I'm talking about in the chat after, so you can have a look. In general, also I wanted to talk about my experience so far in the EOS community. It's been great. It's a learning curve, so everything comes and goes, and it's just a fast-pacing environment, and that's what I like. I've attended Eden EOS working groups. I've attended the media and comms the most, but I think those are really helpful for people to collaborate, and just introducing yourself to people who have a similar or different perspectives is just key. And it's a way that people can communicate freely. Another thing is Pomelo. It really inspired me to create more public goods, such as the podcast. I really thoroughly started to enjoy pitching and just being on such platforms and just enjoying life really and meeting people in the community. And I just feel like I'm part of something special. And not to forget the Eden Fractal. It's been one of the best experiences so far. It's like a show that's just ongoing, and the social games that we play. For example, the anniversary that just happened like a month ago. It's the 1-year anniversary of Eden Fractal, where we played games like Fractal DJ and Speeches, where we ranked each other's performance on songs and also speeches about how Eden Fractal changed our life really, and what we've got from it. And one of the things that I wanted to do, as part of kind of my vision for it, is to create and spread out the word more. And that's why I created Community Stories, that podcast. It's an innovative show where we explore perspectives about communities, social structures, and way more. And in this latest episode with Koutoulas, we discussed growth on Aquadeck. And if you don't know what Aquadeck is, it's a social club which is hosted by Koutoulas himself. And that's where participants are challenged to achieve personal goals by playing fractal consensus games inspired by Eden Fractal. And it's something that I've been participating in, and it's just a whole nother experience itself. And I invite everyone to join. I'll provide a link about that too. We also talk in the episode, we talk about the fractal systems, for example, Genesis Fractal, and kind of an overview of Koutoulas' experience there, like what worked, what didn't work, kind of scooping out the best part of the cream with just putting things together and making it work more effectively in the end. And he also talks about CXC and Tetra, which he would also provide more details on Tetra just after me. And it's just an episode that I think I laughed a lot, and I invite everyone to check out. And with that, I just want to thank everyone for their time, and I'm gonna pass it on to Dan, who's gonna provide more color on everything that I've said, and then we can hear more about from Douglas after. But again, I want to invite everyone to check out the episode in Community Stories, and which is in the Eden Creators YouTube channel, and also follow Eden Creators YouTube channel and Twitter accounts like Rosmari Digital and Eden Creators. And again, thanks for everyone. Time. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Rosmari, for that nice personal testimony. Oh, there we go. Dan is joining. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much, Stefan. How are you?
Doing good. Welcome again to the Fireside. What's going on with you?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to just share a little bit, and thanks, Rosmari. It's been a huge honor and a pleasure working with Rosmari, and she said a lot there, so I'll be pretty quick here. And I think Koutoulas is coming on next too, and he's going to share a bit about Aquadeck and about Tetra, as Rosmari was saying. I encourage everybody to watch the interviews too. So I shared the link before, and perhaps Rosmari will share it again for the interview that she did with Douglas Koutoulas. It's fascinating. It's really awesome. I've also been producing the Aquadeck too, so I encourage people to join the Aquadeck meetings every Tuesday, as well as the Eden Fractal meetings that we've been doing every Wednesday that we've spoken a lot about here. Koutoulas is doing an amazing job pioneering and leading a community there. They're really fun meetings. He's starting to post videos and share all sorts of cool stuff that you can see in that article that I linked that Rosmari put together. It's been super cool working with Koutoulas, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about the Tetra app as well. And then also, I want to thank Rosmari too. I think if people haven't watched our previous episode, she mentioned the Fractal episode, which I share above, but we have another Fractal episode coming up soon. We're aiming to do it this week. And well, Rosmari, I don't know if she mentioned, but she's also a fantastic musician too. So we're going to play the music together, as well as promote all the great things we've been doing together at Eden Creators and Eden Fractal and Aquadac and the EOS community as a whole, and help people make public goods. And also, if people hadn't seen it, another thing that I'll link here is the first interview, the community stories podcast that she did with me. So it was a huge honor being the first guest on Rosmari's podcast. It's awesome how it's full circle, how Douglas invited Rosmari to the community, and we met at Eden Fractal, and then the first two podcast guests happened to be myself and Koutoulas, and then we'll hear Koutoulas. So really cool. And I just want to basically just say thank you for everybody for being here at the EOS community, and thank you for Rosmari for sharing that. It's really inspiring, and it's been amazing working with Rosmari over the full time, especially over the past month and a half. We've been working together really closely, and as she mentioned, she mentioned some of the things she's been helping out with, like video production, and outreach for social media and so forth. Basically, what we have with Eden Creators and Eden Fractal, I've been hosting the Eden Fractal meetings and a bunch of great builders there, and I've been, for the most part, building Eden Creators on my own for the past 2 years or so, 2.5 years maybe now. And we have a lot of amazing games and shows and tools that we've been building. And what we really need to do is we really need to help get the word out. And we need people who are great speakers and can share the fun and amazing parts of what we're doing, and present in a way that can help people understand and help people enjoy the benefits of these. And so Rosmari is really the perfect person. It's like a huge serendipity, amazing experience. Thank you so much, Koutoulas, for inviting her to the community in the first place. And I look forward to everybody getting the chance to meet Rosmari more. But yeah, she's really the perfect person to help, and it's been profoundly helpful working with her so far. And I'm stoked to share everything that we're working on at Eden Creators with the community. We'll be sharing lots more coming soon. So as she said, subscribe. I'll also share her Twitter account too. I don't know if she shared it, but I encourage everybody to follow Rosmari as well as Eden Creators to check out more. And then, yeah, already in the past week, I was a little bit behind over the past few months because so much going on with innovations at Eden Fractal, but she's been doing amazing work already with video editing, and we have a lot of our best our best shows. We're getting together show notes for each episode, cool thumbnails and great art. And we're also catching up with NFTs and all sorts of new innovations that we're bringing. And then we're planning out new things like newsletters and more social media outreach and so forth, as you mentioned before. So really looking forward to taking what we have at Eden Creators, Eden Fractal we've been building, and expanding with communities like Aquadac, and bringing it to mainstream audiences to be able to help all communities enjoy the benefits of EOS and enjoy these great processes and social games and so forth. And eventually we want to also scale it up. So one of the things we're working on is scaling up our scaling up for future growth of the community team. So with me and Rosmari working together, we're looking to both build up our workflows, working a lot with the software called Notion, which is really helpful to scale it up so we can bring on many more people on the team in the future, and also raise more funds and build businesses around it so we can help people enjoy these games as much as possible. So just wanted to put that out there, that we have a lot of amazing things coming, and I encourage everybody to check out Rosmari's work, her podcast. She's got some great podcasts lined up too for the future. Check out the community stories episodes that she did, and look out for the Fractal app episode that we're aiming to do in the next week. And I suppose with that, I can say thank you very much, Stefan, for having us on once again, and thank you to everybody for listening. Huge shout out and thanks to Rosmari, and also a big thanks to Koutoulas, and looking forward to hearing from Koutoulas about Aquadac and Tetra. And thanks so much, Koutoulas, for hosting Aquadac. I can pass it back to Stefan now if you want to add anything, or I can pass it over to Koutoulas because he's got some exciting updates for us as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Dan. Yeah, let's hear from Koutoulas.
Hello.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome to the Fireside.
All right, thank you so much, Stefan, and also a big thanks to Dan. He really created the between the fractally and but the aliens.
Oh, you're cutting out pretty badly.
There's a Spanish-speaking fractal. Okay, all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cutting out. If this
can you hear me now?
I don't know if it's gonna work. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, I just switched to cellular, so I should be good now.
There we go. Yeah, now you're coming in clear.
Perfect.
Good stuff.
Awesome. So I wanted to say, yeah, thanks to Dan for being that bridge from the Fractally into my project, as well as other fractals. And it's been a really great social experience, a social experiment. And as Rosmari mentioned, I see it as we're here to create as much foam as we can and then scoop out like the very best. And then that very best has the potential to change the world and change how people connect. So I'll talk a little bit about Aqueduct, and then I'll jump into talking about Tetra, which is really exciting and really revolutionary. But first, Aqueduct. So whenever I was in Fractally, I did a lot of work, and I thought I was doing what I was supposed to. I built a testnet token, I built the pools as they were described in the white paper, and then nothing happened because there's no sort of leadership to say, oh, this is good or this is what we're doing, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So instead of getting like upset, I tried to say, okay, well, what was my real motivation here for doing this, and how can we use it to improve people's lives? In addition to being a programmer, I'm also a mystic, and I have a school of consciousness that I founded in 2016, Aquarius.academy, and we love to explore the idea of collective consciousness. But I felt like in Fractally, what was missing is all the effort that I did was never really brought into the collective. So I thought, well, what if I was doing all that work for myself? And we founded Aqueduct under the concept that if we do have sort of an overarching collective idea that we're striving towards, and then we empower each individual member, we can not only benefit that member through the simple like motivation tactics of getting them to move forwards towards their goal, but also experience that collectiveness where we sort of, we reach out with these invisible tendrils and we're drawn together because we see other people going towards their goals, and we develop these sort of natural conversations that are beneficial to the entire group. So we've been doing this for, I believe we did 16 weeks so far, so about 4 months. We do three-month season or 12-week seasons, and each season we have a different goal. So this goal is about connection, and my connection goal is to connect my different projects and connect them with each other, but more importantly, connect them with the outside world. So that's a perfect segue to tell you about Tetra. So what is Tetra? Tetra is a global economic system that will run the world in 10 years. We started with CXC.world, the Reddit on the map, in 2018. With limited upvotes per day, not per content. We invented music NFTs on the Wax blockchain, or we published the first standard for EOS, and we have tokenized upvotes, but unfortunately they're 100% manual. So what we're doing with Tetra is we're creating an endorsement economy. And you can kind of think of this like a DAO, but the way it operates is you create 3 lists. And these lists are of creative, social, and commercial projects that you endorse in your area. And these also follow a 3-month funding cycle. So at the end of that 3-month funding cycle, you have deliverables. And these deliverables, you will have to report on a scale of 0 to 100 how well you think your project met your deliverables. Then every person who has endorsed your project by putting you on their list will also have the opportunity to rate you on 0 from 100. So we get this sort of accountability that's missing on a lot of the project funding mechanisms that we have today. So who am I? I worked with Helios, and they sort of taught me how to pitch. I worked with a major metaverse company called Landian here in Medellin, and I've also was the 100th member of Eden, and I was very active in Fractally. I built and ran solo CXC.world, Machine Minds AI, Aquarius Academy, and MyHS.us, and I have had help on those projects since, but I did build them by myself, and now I'm asking for help from Tetra. So the tech behind this, we invented biomimetic tokenomics, we invented geo-aware NFT standards, and I wrote the Web 4 paper in 2020 talking about time-back tokens, provable personhood, geosocial systems, and information entity. So what problem do we want to solve with Tetra? Well, the way I see it, the powerful enslave the powerless with money because of our debt-based system. We have things like lobbying and equal access to cheap capital. But in my heart of hearts, the absolute worst is the media fear machine, where ad where ad dollars create a clickbait society, and the news media uses our fear, our survival instincts to show us people killing people, not helping people. And that's not cool. So I developed a system where local consensus allows us to endorse or ignore the project in our local area first. So the cream of the crop rises to the top and the boring gets buried. Our opportunity for investors, or like our economic opportunity, is that it's better exposure, more targeted, more accessible, and more useful. So we've got a lot of traction going. I see CXC as our MVP of this product, and that's how I'm sort of selling it, is like this is the evolution of CXC.world. And with CXC, we have 6,000 token holders. We've had thousands of users on our apps, and we've been online for over 4 years. So what we're doing now is we're creating a new currency to make all this happen. We're creating RA, the first local and time-backed currency. We have one global currency and we have individual national currencies, as well as we're going to launch currencies for individual states, as in, the United States and cities by demand. So this allows your economic contribution to have an impact on your local area first. It means that advertising dollars go into your local economy first and then bubble upward and outward. In order to make this happen, we're planning to work with the ENF. I have a grant that's about 2 weeks overdue from hearing back from the ENF whether or not we're approved or not. And then we're working with a social whitelisting procedure. And in 2024, I'm going to create a mock US election map where you have to basically register for the system, and then you can vote for the president on chain. So there's some sort of provability, but it is just a mock election map. And then in 2028, I'll be running for president of the United States under a new political party with these ideas central to Tetra, of building up our community and creating a endorsement, a truth that bubbles out from the individual to the community, and from the community to the nation and beyond. So
did we just get our first presidential announcement on the Fireside? Is that what I heard correctly? That's awesome. Yeah, nice intro. Nice recap of all the things you've been working on. Sounds like you've been pretty busy. Definitely love the passion that you and Dan and Rosmari are bringing to your projects and to the Fireside right now. But sounds like you were about to continue to share, so go for it.
Sure. So we're on Wax blockchain. 700,000 daily active users, 23 million daily transactions. Hopefully this audience already knows that. And right now, we're looking for a CEO. We're looking for a marketing lead. We're looking for a compliance officer. We're looking for UI and UX people. So if you want to be involved, please talk to me. As well as we're currently doing our first round of funding. I'm actually, in about an hour, I'll be going to a pitching event, and this event is to prepare me for a blockchain conference on the 27th, where I will be presenting Tetra in the South American market at this blockchain conference called HashFest. It's hashfest.io. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what we're working on. And if you'd like to learn more, you can go to bit.ly/Tetra slides, where I have the pitch deck. But yeah, we're still in the beginning phases, and I'm trying to do it better than I did with CXC, because with CXC, I built the whole app before I raised any funds, and that wasn't sustainable. So now I'm trying to actually raise funds and, get the right people at the table. I have one full-time employee now. So that's where we're at. I'd love to have any sort of connections, anybody that feels really motivated to create world change, to create this app that can revolutionize not only currency, not only project management, but how we look at each other as humans. And that's all I got. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk.
All right. Thanks, Douglas, for joining us on the Fireside, and good luck with your projects, your fundraising, your recruiting. Definitely a couple people have found jobs on the Fireside in the past, so maybe it'll happen again. Okay, at this point, yeah, absolutely. At this point, that kind of covers all the topics we had lined up for today. If anyone else has some extra topics they wanted to bring up, feel free to do that right now. Any off-topic banter, now's the time before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I have one topic. We have a survey that we're circulating to BPs, so if there's any block producers on this call, an initiative that the DNF is running right now is we are gathering data on the carbon emissions and energy consumption of the EOS network. This is for both marketing materials to sort of help spread awareness of how low energy consumption, EOS is, but then also for an initiative to for the ENF to offset the carbon by the network. So if you'd like to take part in this survey, I'll drop a couple links. We've got both an English survey and a Chinese survey here. And if it's optional to fill this out, of course, and it's optional to essentially name what BP you're filling this out. But those that do will get included in future campaigns as having sort of helped contribute to this efforts. So yeah, this will be circulated on a couple other calls around the community, and we just want to get people engaging with it and helping us to gather this information. At the ENF, we're here to fund and support public goods, so why not support the greatest pub of all?
All right, thanks, Liam, for bringing that up. Yeah, I think you cut out there at the end, unless it was me.
And to follow that up, unless you wanted to add anything, Liam. I will just say also your weekly reminder, if you have a project running on EOS or EOS EVM, please fill out the ecosystem form to get yourself included, your project included on the ecosystem page at EOSnetwork.com. I just dropped the link. So give us your details.
There you go. Sounds like D-Board needs to fill out the form.
Heck yeah. We'll eventually add everybody, even if they don't submit, probably, if you've got a working application in the ecosystem or any kind of project that is serving the EOS ecosystem. But much easier for us if you fill out the details, so it just smooths the way.
Thanks, Lovejoy. I mean to fill that in for Eden creating practical stuff like that, and I'll do that as soon as possible. And I'm looking forward to more collaborations there. I also wanted, this is Dancing Joy again, by the way, but I just wanted to share one last thing on the thing I meant to mention before. I hear somebody saying something. And then I go,
yes, go for it.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. It's like I'm in a giant auditorium now with lots of reverb. Yeah, I wanted to share, I don't think we shared the link before, in case anyone wants to join Eden Practical and meet people like Rosmari and myself and many other builders there. Everybody's welcome to join on Wednesday the 15:30 UTC. You're welcome to join for just a couple minutes here and there, or stay for all the consensus games. And we have more details at edenpractical.com. And we also just created new event pages as well. So we switched the provider that we had for our event, like listing and email services like that. So if you'd like to get weekly reminders of the events and join and find the Zoom link like that, you can go to lou.ma/edenpractical. And also, as an update, I'm not sure if I shared here, but a couple weeks ago, or about 5 weeks ago, after we started the Alien World Fractal, I changed up the time of the Eden Town Hall. So it's every other Monday at 17 UTC. And I also just shared the link for the lou.ma/Eden Town Hall that everybody can join there. So I encourage you to join those events and come say hi. And that can be a great way if you want to introduce yourself to me or Rosmari, or just share what you're working on. We love to feature everybody's work. And we're actually just today at the Eden Fractal meeting discussing ways for better community agendas so people can propose different topics that they want to discuss. So we'd love to hear from you. And just want to put it out there, and you can find more details at the links in the description, or links in the chat rather. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks to all of the guests that joined us today. Thanks for everyone who joined out there. Last call to get your POP tokens before we close up the registration. That's in the PopBot chat in Discord. And yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for us today. Until next week, hope you guys are staying cool, calm, and collected. And we'll be doing it again next week. All right, see ya, everyone. Let's go EOS.
Go EOS.